This is the story of the year 1914, when an 8-year-old boy was playing in a village in Japan. Suddenly, he saw a machine with 4 wheels. It was a Ford T model that amazed the boy. That day was the day when the 8-year-old boy first became fascinated with cars and mechanical parts. His name was Soichiro Honda, and little did anyone know that his name would be associated with cars of all sizes in the coming years. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1906, near Mount Fuji in Japan, Soichiro Honda was born in a small village. His father was a blacksmith and also did part-time work repairing bicycles. Honda had already lost 5 siblings due to various illnesses. Therefore, his parents had high hopes for this child. However, he had no interest in studies. Nevertheless, he developed a keen interest in working with his father in repairing bicycles. When he turned 16 years old, he came across a job advertisement in a newspaper for technicians at an automobile service station named Art Shokai in Tokyo. Honda wrote a letter to the company expressing his desire to join them, and luckily, he received a positive reply. This was the time when Honda left his home and school with hopes of earning a living and headed to Tokyo. However, his dreams shattered when he arrived at Art Shokai in Tokyo. The company owner started assigning Honda cleaning and tidying tasks and even put him on babysitting duty. On one hand, Honda had left his home and parents behind, and on the other hand, he was being given menial tasks. He felt ashamed to return to his village and face his parents because he lacked the courage to confront them. Due to this reason, he was forced to stay there and continue working odd jobs for several months. After a few months, the founder of Art Shokai also started assigning Honda tasks in the workshop. Honda had a genuine interest in this work, which allowed him to easily understand things. Within a few months, he had gained considerable knowledge about different types of cars and their parts. During this period, Art Shokai also built 2 sports cars, the first being the Art Daimler and the second, the Curtiss. Both cars were built using used engines, and they achieved first position in the Japanese Motor Car Championship in 1924. Honda was still a skilled mechanic at that time, but in this race, he sat as an engineer alongside the driver. It was this event that made Soichiro Honda consider motorsports as his religion. For many more years, he continued working at Art Shokai, gaining more experience and honing his skills. In 1928, at the age of 22, the owner made the decision to open another branch, which would be located in Hamamatsu City. Honda was given the responsibility to run this branch, and he started with just 1 worker. Within a short span of 2 years, he expanded the workforce to 30 employees. He had now become a brilliant mechanic and racing driver. Leveraging his skills, he designed a sports car for his boss. This car had the capability to reach speeds of up to 120 kilometers per hour, breaking many existing records. This record remained the highest in Japan for the next 20 years. The owner of Art Shokai recognized Honda's significance, and his importance grew in his heart. Although Honda desired to open his own workshop, fate may not have allowed it at that time. In 1936, during a race, Honda experienced a horrific accident. While he survived, his left arm was fractured, his shoulder dislocated, and he sustained multiple wounds on his face. It seemed like the end of his life as he knew it. He could no longer work as a mechanic or participate in racing. After several months of recovery, Honda approached the owner of Art Shokai with a request. Instead of returning to repair work, he proposed the idea of starting a separate company to manufacture spare parts. However, the stakeholders of Art Shokai immediately rejected Honda's idea. They were already making profits and were not interested in taking on new risks. In response, Honda decided to start his own parts manufacturing company alone. In 1936, at the age of 30, he and his friend Soichiro Kato, and together they opened Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry, appointing Kato as its president. While the company was established, Honda lacked the necessary investment to run it. During the day, he continued to work for Art Shokai, while at night he made efforts to build piston engines for his new company. This routine persisted for several months, but he faced continuous failures and setbacks. He had hit a string of disappointments one after another. It was then that he decided to enroll in a university to gain expertise in metrology. After 3 years of relentless hard work, in 1939, he finally succeeded in building a functional piston. He quit his job at Art Shokai and devoted himself full-time to piston manufacturing. However, he was unaware that his pistons still had many flaws. He offered his pistons to Toyota, but out of 50 designs, 47 were rejected. This news hit Honda hard, as he had no way of returning to his previous job. To understand the requirements of different companies, he began traveling throughout Japan. Honda visited various factories and met with car manufacturers to understand the market. Over the next few years, he delved into comprehending the market dynamics. After gaining insights, Honda made another attempt at manufacturing pistons, and this time his pistons passed the quality control standards of all the companies. Soon, Honda started receiving a flood of orders, and once again, he saw his dreams coming true. To fulfill the orders, his company hired 2,000 workers. The happiness of Honda during this time was short-lived, as nobody knew that. In 1941, Japan would be involved in World War II. The ministry took control of many Japanese companies, including the one owned by Soichiro Honda. Honda was downgraded and appointed as a senior director managing his own company, but things took a turn for the worse when the company's workers were enlisted for military service. The next 3 years proved to be extremely challenging. However, in 1944, an incident occurred that completely shattered Honda's hopes. During an air raid, a rocket directly hit Honda's factory. The situation in the country was deteriorating rapidly. Japan was clearly losing the war. Then, in 1945, 2 nuclear attacks took place, which devastated the nation. Japan's defeat was evident, and as a result, they surrendered to the Americans. The war had come to an end, but Honda had lost everything. He sold his remaining assets from Toyota for 450,000 yen and found himself unemployed once again. It wasn't just Honda who faced such circumstances. The entire country of Japan was going through a severe crisis. The economy was crumbling. There was a severe shortage of food and water, and inflation was crippling everyone. Public transportation was almost non-existent as gasoline had become scarce. During this period, Honda acquired a small engine from the Japanese Imperial Army, which he used to power a wireless radio. Due to his habit of thinking outside the box, an idea struck him. He thought, why not attach this engine to a bicycle to solve the transportation problem? It would make transportation easier and more affordable. Given that people were already concerned about inflation, when they saw an engine mounted on a bicycle, they loved the idea. Honda managed to acquire a few used engines, but the demand from the people was so high that it exceeded his supply. Now Honda has designed its own new engine. It was the first time in history that a Honda logo was seen on a machine. Honda did not have enough money to make these cycles at mass level. So he wrote an open letter to 18,000 shopkeepers. People had so much faith in Honda that 3,000 shopkeepers gave him positive reply and also gave money in advance. In the next 3 years, Honda created a motorcycle that was exactly in line with the market's requirements. It was launched in the name of Super Cup, which created a storm in the market as soon as it came. This model was so successful that in 1958 it became the United States' own, and left Triumph and Harley-Davidson's sales behind because Honda was very fond of racing. That's why he decided to make a sports bike now. He used to go to different bike races and note down the special features of the winning bikes. In this era, such sports used to be a marketing tool for manufacturing companies more than a competition race. In a few years, Honda's first sports bike was launched, who won the first position in 1962 in international racing competition. This race made the name of Honda famous all over the world. In the 1960s, Honda had become the largest motorcycle manufacturing company in the world, and by 1968, it had sold 1 crore units. After spending 62 years of his life, Soichiro Honda had finally found success, but the dream he had had since his childhood had not yet been fulfilled. Honda now wanted to move towards car manufacturing. Many people also forbade him to do so, but he did not listen to anyone. Like Toyota and Nissan in Japan at the time, such companies were holding their own business. It was quite difficult to make a new place in the market there. Honda launched its first pickup truck T360, which failed. After that, the sports car S500 was launched, which only 1,300 units were sold. After many years of hard work and dozens of designs being rejected, Honda Civic was finally launched in 1972. This is the car whose new models are famous all over the world till date. In the 1980s, Honda Motors was the third largest manufacturing company in Japan, and within 10 years it became the third largest in the world. Today, the Honda name gives us cars, motorcycles, board engines, planes, and dozens of power tools are available to view. Soichiro Honda retired from the company in 1973, the year after the Honda Civic was launched. And this journey of his life on the 5th of August 1991, forever gone forever. Hope you will like and share this video of Back in Time. Thank you very much for your kind comments. See you in the next awesome video. Take care, goodbye.